Also on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We got it all covered on the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff show. There we are. And we got Andrew Gibson along for the ride, sitting in for the Graham Marshmobile, who is up in Minnesota. Gibby, welcome to the Kickoff show. How's it going, my brother?
Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in Jacksonville and ready for some football. And like Hayes said, no excuses. All the injuries for the Texans. The Jaguars are the better football team. Got to get it done today.
Jaguars, of course, coming off of a 17-9 loss to the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. We'll rehash that one in just a second. The Texans sitting at 0-2 after a 31-20 loss to the Indianapolis Colts, who, of course, the Jaguars defeated Week 1 of the 2023 season. Hayes, that game was kind of wonky because obviously Anthony Richardson, the former Florida Gator quarterback, with 2 early touchdowns, he exits. Former Jaguars quarterback Gardner Minshew steers the Colts the rest of the way. But the Texans, despite C.J. Stroud still not throwing an interception in 2 NFL games in his young career, still weren't able to find their way.
I tell you what, I get that it's garbage time, a lot of that, but for C.J. Stroud to throw for 384 in his second NFL start, that speaks volumes about where he is as a player. And yeah, I mean, the game got out of hand early, and Houston's got a litany of problems that we'll go through over these next couple of hours. But I think C.J. Stroud looks good so far. Now, can he keep it going? The sacks are not sustainable. He's taken 11 sacks. He's not going to hold up. He's not that big of a guy. I mean, he's not a figurine like Bryce Young, but he's not, a giant either. And looking at where they are, I think a big key today for the Jaguar defense is C.J. Stroud is going to get rid of the ball much earlier than he has been. There's just quarterbacks that have taken that much contact, particularly young ones, they are not going to continue to do that. He is going to throw the ball today. He has not thrown a pick in 91 attempts, which is, again, really impressive. But today, I think if you're a Jaguar defensive back, you're going to get that extra split second because I think he's going to let it. I think he's going to have to anticipate more. I think he's going to release the ball quicker to avoid the sacks. And I think he's going to put the ball up for grabs a few times. Now it's up to the Jaguars to capitalize. But I think that's a big early key to this game is Stroud, in my opinion, is going to put some balls up for grabs. And that's where the Jaguars have to seize control of this game. There's no reason the Jaguars should lose the turnover battle today.
Also ample opportunities for the Jaguars pass rush with the Texans without 4 of their 5 starters along the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil, the 4th of those offensive linemen, did not travel with the team as he is still fighting a knee injury, the Columbia Lake City product. That for me screams, Hayes, if you can't get sacks today, I mean, you got to be looking around if you're Trent Baalke and saying, well, we hedged our bet that guys would develop, and yes, it's week 3, but as Doug Peterson said last week, it's early is no longer an excuse. We're running out of time for that.
Absolutely. And, again, it's almost like going up against it's almost like a preseason game in that aspect. I mean, how often are you going to see it's like a preseason game where the Texans have decided we're not going to play our starters, and the Jaguars are like, well, we're playing ours. I mean, it should be a mismatch. It already favored the Jaguars, even if they were both healthy. But the fact that Houston has such a just tremendous amount of attrition along that offensive front, and they're down Tunsil, who's probably their best overall player. I mean, it absolutely should be a field day if Stroud holds the ball like he's been doing. I just think there's no way that Stroud is going to be patting the ball in the pocket. I think it's going to be a massive emphasis. Look, this franchise, Houston, they've gone through this before with David Carr. They took him first overall as an expansion team 20 years ago, basically, and he just got shell-shocked because of all the sacks that he took, and he never really recovered from it. They've got to be mindful of that with C.J. Stroud. I mean, again, this is a division that, Andrew Luck retired in his 20s because of the beating that he took. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be cognizant of that. And I think D'Amico Ryans and the Houston staff will be very aware of that. And I think it's going to be emphasized throughout the week. When we throw it, it's got to be quick. He's got to get it out of his hand. And they're going to have to live with the consequences. But the consequences of that is his pick less streak should end today, and it could end with 2 or 3.
2 feathers in the cap of C.J. Stroud in that Houston Texans offense, though, Hayes. Let's start with the run game, which, lest we forget, Dameon Pierce, another former Florida Gator, came to the bank last year, week 5, and was able to tally 99 yards on 24 carries. Now, I say that he had 15 carries for 31 yards last time out against the Colts. Obviously, the attrition along that offensive line is probably factoring in for the former Florida running back.
Yeah, and the Jaguars defend the run really well. They'll have Fatukasi today, which is great. Obviously, it's terrible what's happened to Devon Hamilton, and he's still a ways out. But in terms of looking at it, the Jaguars have defended the run well, and Dameon Pierce in the Houston ground game has just been atrocious so far.
Which is shocking to me.
Shocking.
Like, that for me is the guy I look at and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, he's a problem. And for him to be averaging, basically around my GPA at 2.7, I mean, that's pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic as a GPA.
Chad enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Our boy Chad from Tailgaters and Grow.
And Chad, I may be even giving myself a couple points there. But, yeah, Dameon Pierce, 2.7 yards per carry. I mean, that is just dreadful in the NFL.
And do you think it's all a byproduct of that offensive line?
It's got to be, because I think he's good. So
because he did suffer an injury late last year because
Yeah.
the Jags didn't face him the second time these two teams faced in the 2022 season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's like anything when there's a problem, it's probably a mix, but I would say it's 80% Houston's offensive line and scheme and 20% Pierce, if even that. But, he is a physical runner, but you can't think. One thing the Jaguars do well is they defend the run.
Right.
And so, I would think that, they're 8th in the league against the run right now. I would think that number should improve because of the fact that, again, you can't think they're going to be able to open up too many holes because of, this league has no offensive line depth. It's hard enough if you're down one guy. To be down 4 guys?
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure I can remember the Jaguars playing a team that was down.
I remember the Jags in 2018 being down 3 or 4 guys. Right,
yeah,
exactly.
I can't remember a Jaguar opponent being this beat up along the offensive front, particularly for it being still in September. So got to take advantage of it. I would think Dameon Pierce will certainly get his carries because, again, they've got to try and protect their rookie quarterback, Stroud. But, I would like to think it's going to be 16 carries for 42 yards. Something – where he's really bottled up.
One more on the Texans before we flip it over to the Jags side of things. I've been saying this all week right here on the Superstation. You tell me, Hayes, if you have to take one of these 2 wide receiver cores for the next 5 years, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, I will say John Mechie, even though Robert Woods kind of is more the factor right now, but obviously he's kind of a bridge right now. So those are the 3 Texans wide receivers, or the trio of Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs in Indianapolis. Which of those 3 are you taking for the next 5 years?
I would take the Texans group because
I would too.
Because they can move.
Yeah.
The Colts are slow at receiver. And so I think Houston's doing a nice job. I think they had a nice draft. CJ Stroud and Tank Dell looks good and so I think that they're on the right track from a skill position standpoint. Collins had the great game, last week. So yeah, I would take Houston. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. If the Jaguars don't get it done today, is it okay, they're 1-2, it's still early, they're figuring out, they struggled early last year, got it going, or is it sky is falling?
Oh, the sky is falling. I have talked to enough people in the building that have admitted that last year, despite Doug Peterson's very calm demeanor to the media, there definitely was a perception inside the building during that 5-game losing streak that the sky was falling because you were banking on Trevor, the light bulb's going to go off, these other players are going to develop, the defense is going to get back to stopping the run like they were the first 4 games, and there was a stretch there in that middle part of October where everyone was looking around saying, is this really going to turn? Coincidentally, that included a loss to the Houston Texans, that 5-game losing streak. My question then would be, is this a 13-6 loss like last year, or is this a shootout loss, or the Jags get their butts whipped in this situation?
If they lose today, it's going to be the offense continues to struggle.
Right.
I'd be shocked if the Texans score more than 24 today.
Oh, yeah.
Even that I think is high.
Because both the defense is playing at an elite level and also their offense just doesn't have the horses for courses.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I would think if today is a loss, it would be similar to last year, similar to last week, where, Houston might score 17 and get a win. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think I've ever been as confident that the Jaguars should win a game like I am today. But boy, if they don't, and you have to talk about it from the what happens if they lose the game. I mean, the stakes I think are very high because there's a big difference between what Doug Peterson sort of hung his hat on this week is well we're in great shape, we're 1-1, which is like what? But they are 1-0 in the division,
right?
And if they win today,
and their one loss was a one possession loss, whether you like it or not, to the
correct.
defending Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, where the defense played well, and again that kind of got
and if the
lost.
offense hauls in 2 of those touchdown passes, if Zay Jones gets 2 feet down,
right.
we're talking about a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, or if Trevor just runs it from the one
right.
Bingo.
As opposed to pulling it. So let's talk about that.
Anyway,
let's wrap this first segment with that. Coming out of last week, I know a lot of Jaguar fans out there, which of course you can get in on the conversation on our YouTube channel and on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. A lot of folks had a sour taste in their mouth, which is kind of funny considering where this team was 2 years ago, Hayes, where a 17-9 loss to the defending Super Bowl champions would have been a cause for celebration of, oh my goodness, we're competitive. And now it's like, no, like not only do we not want losses, we can't have losses in that fashion. We can decide what a good loss and a bad loss is. In this town, no one was able to say that 2 years ago, let alone 1 year ago.
No doubt about it. I mean, again, there were some positives in the Chiefs' loss. To hold Mahomes to 17, you have to feel really good about that. I mean, I still have reservations about Mike Caldwell as a defensive coordinator. That was a big feather in his cap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now, you look at what they're doing defensively. They're 5th and 3rd down. They're 8th against the run. If those numbers hold, I don't know that they will, but if those numbers were to hold this year, they're going to win 13 games.
Right.
Because last year they were awful on 3rd down defensively. So if they've made that big of a jump, the offense, I think, will get going.
Right. The offense is easier to fix than the defense.
Yeah, it was just so hard to imagine that a Trevor Lawrence-led offense with all the weapons would fail to get into double digits against any opponent this year. Even against San Francisco late in the year, it would still be like, really? I mean, I know they're great defensively, but you're home, and you got all this talent, and you got Doug Peterson in year 2. And so anyway, I think it was incredibly disappointing how the offense played last week, but it doesn't discount the fact that defensively they look like they're really improved. And today we should see that carry over, or it was a little bit of of a fluke if Houston somehow comes in today with C.J. Stroud and is scoring in the high 20s.
Right, and I think that perhaps Jaguar fans, the Jaguars themselves, maybe underestimated that Chiefs defense. Perhaps the entire National Football League underestimates that defense because everyone talks about the offense. I liked what Nate Tice from the Athletic Football Show said earlier this week, which is, and he's been saying this since Trevor's rookie year because he is a Trevor stan, when you watch the film back, they once again, Hayes, move the ball up and down the field without issue. But once again, just like last year, they get within the 20-yard line, and that is where trouble comes to brew. We didn't see it in training camp. It looked like we will be the first to admit, last year during training camp, red zone drills, we all kind of held our breath because it was like, oh boy, here we go, 50% efficiency on the part of the offense. This training camp, there was no question. Like, it was automatic. I mean, maybe like 4 or 5 drop balls. Like it was incredible, and now it's come back to haunt them once again.
It has, and again, hopefully they work that out. Doug Peterson, I did think, hit the nail on the head of this is the last week where early can even be thrown out there. So hopefully they've worked through some things. They'll execute at a high level today. I mean, they made a gigantic blunder last week by their own admission. I mean, not to give Anton Harrison help against Chris Jones when they knew the Chiefs were going to line him up there, and to, basically not only see that Harrison couldn't handle it, but make an in-game adjustment. Right.
Just give
realize,
him some help.
Look, yeah.
They did.
Obviously can't.
They sent 2 tight ends to help him, and they both got beat.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rough. That was a disappointing coaching blunder on the part of Doug Peterson and his offensive staff. So again, it's been everything. It's been poor execution. It's been some coaching problems as well, and hopefully they get it ironed out. I think they will. I'm not concerned about the offense, but I thought they'd be further along at this point than what they are.
As Woody on our YouTube chat line, which we appreciate all of you watching on YouTube, says, Sometimes you just need a reality check. The Jags got a good one, and it is time to bounce back. Can they do it against their AFC South rival Houston Texans here today? Kickoff set for 1 p.m. right here on the Superstation. Frank Frangie will be on the call, and he joins us next on the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch.
The Money Pages brings you this week's Red Zone featured player of the week. Number 32, Jaguars cornerback Tyson Campbell. Campbell played college ball for Georgia and was taken by the Jags in the second round of the 2021 draft. Pick up this week's Jags game program with a commemorative ticket of Tyson Campbell. Download the Money Pages app for weekly specials. Money Pages, official sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Steve Hackett, Genesis Revisited. Foxtrot at 50, plus Hackett's highlights. Friday, March 1st, the Florida Theater. Tickets on sale now at floridatheater.com.
Brackish Vodka, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is the smoothest local vodka you can find. Made right here in Jacksonville, Florida, 100% from corn, Brackish Vodka is the local gluten-free choice. Brackish Vodka, for those that live life slightly salty, a proud partner of the Jaguars. Come out to the Stout Snug for daily happy hours and Brackish Bloody Marys on Saturdays and Sundays until 3 p.m.
Hey guys, this is David Garrard, and I want to tell you about Clearwater Irrigation. They put my new sprinkler system in my new home at Jack's Beach, and I couldn't be happier. Oh, hey John.
What's up, Dave? You know what this means. You're going to have to sing.
Man, I can't sing.
Then you'll fit right in, buddy. Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers. Hit it, Dave.
And drainage, too.
ClearwaterJacks.com. Have breakfast with Hall of Famer Tony Baselli. He may even bring his gold jacket.
I got a feeling he's going to be on his best behavior.
Monday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by Epstein & Robbins DUI Defense Firm and Mr. Rooter Plumbing of Jacksonville. Breakfast provided by Chick-fil-A.
I want to make our backyard into a paradise. But where do I start?
A few people I know chose CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. They do it all. Fire pits, pergolas, and custom outdoor kitchens.
That sounds convenient, but I don't want a half dozen subcontractors milling around.
CSS is a licensed contractor, so they do 100% of the work themselves, from start to finish.
That's perfect. Let's get an estimate.
Well, I already toured their showroom last week.
Ha! Well, what are we waiting for? Let's do it.
CSSOutdoor.com.
I was on the go. It was time to eat. I said, baby, grab a dandy, cause they can't be beat. She got something else when it was time to choose. And after just one bite, I got that soggy sandwich blue. Should've known better, only dandy will do. Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you, yeah.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Even as prices seem higher on almost everything lately, you can count on Famous Quick Lube to still have the best price in town on quick oil change service. Visit any of their 13 locations, including the new shop on San Jose and now in Jack's Beach. The Famous team will have your oil changed, tires rotated, and fluids topped off before you can finish your coffee. For fast, friendly service, personal VIP attention, and the best price in town, go to Famous Quick Lube, servicing every customer like they're famous.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at jaguars.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit jaguars.com. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
Introducing Fast Twitch, a new energy drink from Gatorade. Developed with 200 milligrams of caffeine to help athletes focus the mind and power the body for athletic performance. Great flavors like strawberry watermelon, glacier freeze, cool blue, and tropical mango, all designed to ignite athletic performance. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Fast Twitch, official partner of the NFL and used by the pros. On-the-go energy from Gatorade.
Elevate your driving experience with Osteen Volvo Cars of Jacksonville. The Osteen Volvo team is a key piece of our community, and when it comes to cars, excellence is non-negotiable. Visit Osteen Volvo on Phillips Highway, online at osteenvolvo.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Getting game day underway. Live from Tailgaters Parking. The famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation.
And Gatorade Fast Twitch.
On 1010XL.
Coming at you live on 92.5 FM, 1010 AM, the 1010 app, the 92.5 app, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. This is indeed the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. Me, O'Brien, Hayes Carline, Andrew Gibson along for the ride. We are with you until 10 a.m. Producer Casey Dobson holding it down back at 1010XL World Headquarters. And now we welcome in another member of our 1010XL family, the voice of your Jaguars, Frank Frangie.
Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
All right, Frank, Carline already laid out a scenario in which what happens if the Jags lose. Our listeners have sounded off accordingly on all of our various platforms saying, do not bring that negative energy this morning. Needless to say, folks are perhaps a little bit more positive on this fine Sunday. Maybe it's the crisp air, Carline, than they were the past 6 days following that loss to the Chiefs.
Well, good morning, Mia and Hayes. Good to be with you today. And by the way, before we start, let me just say that you guys are off to a great start. Sound good today. But Mia, you know how when you get to know somebody, you get to know them, you feel like you know their background. You've been there, right? We've all lived that before. I've gotten to know Carline pretty well. I'm going to say 2.7 as a GPA is a little high. Just me, okay? Just so we're clear there. I think we went high there, but again, that's
I did a little extra credit.
Yeah. I'm going to say just what I've seen over the years. Just so we're good about that. I think you guys hit it, by the way. When you get to be good, then you get wins you expect to have. The Jags haven't had that in a while. They haven't had every game is let's hope they win. Well, when you become one of the better teams in the league, and I'm convinced the Jags are that, and you have those expectations and your fans feel that way, well, then you go and lose a game to a team that's not expected to be one of the better teams. Yeah, that stings, and people talk about it, and people can't wait to get on social media and can't wait to have something to complain about. So I say all the time, Mia, there's games you want to win, and there's games you better not lose. And like it or not, this is one that falls in the latter category. This is the game, in the court of public opinion, the Jags better not lose. I feel that way.
Frank, Houston's secondary is so beat up. How do you think Doug Peterson will attack offensively today? Do you think he goes after the depleted secondary, or do you think this is more of a ground and pound?
I think there's balance, Hayes, and it sounds like a generic coach speak answer. But I think, yes, the obvious is it's going to be hard for backup defensive back, Shaq Griffin among them, to stay with the Jaguars receiving core, which is very good, and obviously a very good quarterback. So that the obvious matchup is you attack them where they're weak, and that's where they're weak. But I do think the Jags want to get back to a sense of balance. Tank Bigsby didn't even get a carry last week. Travis Etienne really hasn't gotten going in either of these two games. Remember, against the Colts, he broke off the long run at the end of the game for the touchdown, but even that wasn't blocked particularly well. He had to bounce it outside. So I think you want to get the passing game going, the running game going. So I think there's going to be more balance than you would think. Yes, you attack them where they're weak, but I think the Jags want to run the ball. To get to be the offense that he wants them to be, he being Doug Peterson, that Press Taylor wants them to be, you've got to have balance. You really do. So I'm going to look for them to try and reestablish that balance a bit today as well.
I know Coach Campo echoed the same sentiment right here on 1010XL earlier in the week, Frank, because he said that is how you assert your dominance, and also that's how you instill some confidence in your offensive line, which, quite frankly, the Jaguars' offensive line has been much maligned this week, despite, and I know this is, kind of splitting hairs here, but I know a couple of the statisticians on Twitter, this one was actually from, I want to make sure I give the right attribution, this is from Warren Sharp, against the blitz, the Jaguars have struggled. A big reason for that is, of course, what Chris Jones was able to do last week, the fact that Kansas City brings so much pressure from the secondary against Trevor Lawrence, against a quarterback, but against anything that's not blitz, the Jags' offensive line is, I believe, 6th in the league. So break it down for us, Frank. Like, why is there optimism for this offensive line, especially after all the question marks that it had this week, both health-wise and also after Anton Harrison's second career game?
Yeah, a few things, man. Number one, you guys hit it earlier, and Doug said it too, and they've all said it. They should have helped Anton Harrison. Chris Jones might be the best pass rusher, might be the big guy pass rusher in the league. There's some more edge guys. T.J. Watt and Highsmith are edge guys. They're in that 240, 250 range. But as big guy pass rushers go, the 290-pound guys, Chris Jones is probably the best one in the league. You got to help a guy playing a second game, and they probably should have chipped a little bit more. So that's part of it. The other part of it is I'm not making excuses, Mia, but they have been beat up. Little and Harrison both missed the last preseason game with injuries. Ben Bart was on the PUP list, and I'm still not sure he's healthy. Fortner and Sheriff were battling ankles last week and played with ankles. Now, it sounds like I'm making an excuse. I'm not. But when all 5 guys have had something, then you're going to struggle a little bit. I didn't know the Warren Sharp or the PFF that against the blitz they've been okay. Frankly, I don't think the line's been very good, period. I don't blitz, no blitz. I think the line's been a problem. But I think it's going to get better. I think they understand that. I think the guys are healthier than they've been. And frankly, I think when Cam Robinson comes back, he's going to be the left tackle, and Walker Little's going to move down to left guard. I think that's how they're going to do it. So I think there's some answers coming to your question. But yeah, they got to play better. And it's good to get a team that's struggling. The Texans play much like the Colts do, Mia. They're not going to blitz very much. They're going to have all eyes on the quarterback. They're going to stay in their lanes. They're an enthusiastic defense. They're like a college defense. When they make a play, you're going to see the whole sideline going crazy, kind of like the colleges do. So that's how they're going to play, and that's the D'Amico Ryans' influence. But as far as playing well against them from an offensive line standpoint, like you guys said earlier, I'd be very surprised if the line and the offense doesn't play better.
How do you think Mike Caldwell will attack Houston's offense?
Yeah, I think what you do is you pretty much you come after the rookie quarterback. That's what you do with a rookie quarterback. So I'd be surprised if there's not a lot of that, Hayes. I think C.J. Stroud's really good. Hayes, you work with me every day. You know how I feel about him. I thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. I thought he should have been the first overall pick. There's a lot of Joe Burrow in there to me. Joe Burrow has this smoothness to him that he looks like he's been in the league 5, 6, 10 years. He just has that way about him. He never looks rattled. Nothing gets in a hurry for him. The game is slow for him. And I think C.J. Stroud is like that. I think the game has slowed down for him. He holds the ball a long time. Well, rookie quarterbacks never do that. Rookie quarterbacks force balls and get the ball out too soon and throw picks. He doesn't do that. He looks like a veteran guy. So I think you got to come after him. He held the ball a lot his first 2 games, which the result is he's taken a lot of sacks, he's taken a lot of hits, but he hasn't thrown an interception. As you said earlier in this program, I think that's going to change a little. I would come after C.J. Stroud and make him get the ball out of his hands.
Well, especially with Damian Pierce carrying the ball at a clip similar to Carline's GPA, which I said, Frank, I mean, that is stunning to me, and I thought that would be such an asset to C.J. Stroud and his development, but for whatever the reason, they can't get it going.
Yeah, and he is a high yards per carry guy, Mia. That's just how he's built. He's one of these guys that even if he doesn't get a lot of carries, whatever level he plays, he doesn't have necessarily that speed to get to the second level. He's not going to break a lot of 80-yard runs, but he's always a high yards per carry guy. And he's not averaging a lot, which he's not. That means they're not blocking anybody. That means they're not. When you still, I don't care what level of football it is, you still got to win that. You know, you still got to win up front. And the team that wins up front usually wins the game. So we talked last week about Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence and how great Mahomes is and how great Trevor's going to be, and all of that is true. But the Chiefs won the game because they won up front. And when you win up front, you generally win the game. You got to win up front, and I think teams have been winning up front against the Houston Texans.
How do you think the Jaguars go about replacing Zay Jones today?
Yeah, I think I think what you're going to see is Jacob Harris is going to be up. I think Elijah Cooks is still going to be down, even though they're both active now. I think the reason Jacob Harris is going to be up, Mia, you even hit it on Twitter, I think, is for special teams. He can be a gunner. Elijah Cooks is not a gunner type. He's not a good special teams guy. Jacob is a very good special teams guy. But I think it's going to be a lot of Jamal Agnew. I think you're going to see some jet sweeps. I think both Jamal Agnew and Tim Jones, Hayes, will fill the spot. But I think when they throw the ball down the field, it's going to be more Jamal Agnew. But I think it's the obvious answer. There's more Ridley. There's more Christian Kirk. I'd look for Evan Ingram a little bit today. They want to get him going, I think. So I think more of the other guys. The one thing about a wide receiver core of this team, it's a good room. You can be down a guy and still have a lot of good players out there. So I think you'll see Agnew on the plays down the field. I think you'll see Tim Jones in the game more, but I think you'll see more balls to the other guy.
Couple more for Frank Frangie on the All-Pro Roofing Hotline. He'll be on the call today right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM with Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and, of course, Bucky Brooks. Since you brought it up, Frank, and we've had a lot of Jaguar fans sound off right here on the Superstation about this all week long. Agnew, we know, is a talented wide receiver. But for whatever the reason, the last 2 weeks, he's only seemingly getting the ball whenever it's a trick play or it's a cute play, if you may, some sort of neat design, and it's a jet sweep or it's a handoff in which he fumbles it or something to that akin. Thankfully, I think in a weird twist of fate, I would assume the injury to Zay Jones will open up opportunities for him downfield, and hopefully that'll allow for those trick plays to actually develop without a defense keying in and immediately knowing he's getting the football.
I guess there's some truth to that. Look, I love Jamal Agnew. He's one of the best guys in the locker room. You guys know that. He's one of the best return guys in the league, and I love watching, and he's really fast. But being a seasoned receiver takes something, man. You have to know how to play receiver. You have how to get off jam. You need to have 2 and 3 gears and change directions and double moves. And Jamal's still learning that. This is a guy that was a defensive back in college. This is a guy, that's why he wears 39, because he came into the league as a defensive back. He's still learning how to play offense. So I don't think if Jamal Agnew is seriously involved in your offensive game plan, Mia, well, then you're not developed as a team yet because he's not there yet. He may get there, and he would tell you that. These other guys are more seasoned, veteran receivers, which is why they're going to get the ball down the field. Now, yeah, if you're having to back up because the passing game is going well, well, then the underneath stuff, jet sweeps or whatever, are going to work. But I think Jamal Agnew, and Jamal's a good player, but I don't think we're going to see the day where Jamal is in the game 30, 40 plays on offense running pass routes. I just don't think that's his role. I don't think that was ever designed to be his role. He'll catch some passes today because Zay Jones is out, but I don't think that's what he is. He's perfect for the role they want for him, but I'd be surprised if that role expands or changes very much.
Frank, Trevor Lawrence did not play well last week. How do you think he bounces back?
He's got to play better. He did not play well. He made some choices. I think, I'll go back to last year, Hayes. In the London game against Denver, made a bad choice. The ball at the 1-yard line, throw it out of bounds. Instead, he tried to force the interception. I think last week's play is akin to that. The coaches aren't going to throw him under the bus, nor should they. But if you've watched the game, you all know what happened last week. They called a running play. Trevor took it upon himself to keep the ball and lost 3 yards. I think by now we all kind of, without the coaches confirming that for us, again, nor should they, I think we've all figured out by now, Trevor, God bless him, trying to make a play, trying to do good thing, made the wrong choice. Last year, when he made the wrong choice, it was sort of an awakening for him, right? And I think he played better. This is a good dude. He's a smart dude. He's a good player. He knows. At times he missed a few throws in the back of the end zone. Obviously, he missed the one that Zay Jones way high. He knows he shouldn't have pulled the ball. He should have handed it off on 1st and goal. They were going to run it 4 times. That was the plan. I can tell you. The plan was to run it 4 times from the 1-yard line. If they don't get in, they don't get in. And that changes when the quarterback keeps it and loses 3 yards on 1st down, and then you get a penalty. So I think he knows. I think he bounces back. It's going to be a gorgeous weather day today. I'll bet Trevor has a big game today. I'd be very surprised if it's not a big offensive game and a big game for Trevor Lawrence.
God help us, that weather factor, Frank, because I know we all woke up this morning bright and early for the famous Automotive Kickoff show, and it was, I don't know by you, Carl, but by me, I think it was 65 degrees this morning, and as we're leaving the house, and I'm like, all right, if we can keep this, I think that helps, because I do think, and again, it's no excuse, although Andy Reid did talk about it, and granted, on his part, that's after a win. He said, Frank, that humidity, how can it not be a factor for processing and simply going play after play after play?
I think it is, and this has always been my take on this, Mia. I think the humidity and the weather at some point is a bit of a factor, but in this day and age, training and training camps are so good. It's hot everywhere. And I think by now, teams are used to playing in the hot weather. There have been 3 teams in Florida for a long time now. There have been teams there's a team in Carolina now for a long time now. There's teams in the South. There's teams in Arizona now. There's been a team in Arizona for a long time. It's a different heat. But certainly when I guess it's an indoor stadium, you get the point. There's been places there where it's hot to play for a long time now. I don't think it factors as much in terms of who wins and loses the game. You have to be ready for it. You have to be hydrated and prepared for it. But I don't think it's a big factor. What I do think is a factor is the home team is comfortable. They've been practicing in it. I don't think the opposing team's going to wilt and faint on the sideline. But I do think the home team always is comfortable in their arena, in their weather, and I think that'll help the Jags today. It always does.
All right, Frank, before we let you go and get you set for the call later on today, a X factor, both sides of the ball for me, please, since, of course, we won't ask you for a score prediction, but Who could be the game changer for the Jags and for the Texans?
Both running backs for Jacksonville. Let me start with that, okay? I'm going to start with both running backs for Jacksonville. I think to be what you want to be, you got to run the football. I'd like to see them have a high percentage, a high yardage total today. I mean, I'd like to see them approach 200 yards on the ground today. So I think running the football. So give me both. Bigsby didn't get a carry last week, man. He's going to get carries today. So give me both ETN and Bigsby on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to go back to Josh Allen. He had the big game the first week. He had the phenomenal offseason, the time in Arizona, the commitment in this very important contract year for him. I think you got to get to C.J. Stroud. He does hold the ball a while. I think that's the key to stopping them. So give me the two running backs on offense because I think you're going to see them very involved today. I really believe that. And give me Josh Allen on the defensive side. I'll bet there's a sack, maybe a sack and a half for 41 today. That's my guess.
He is nursing a shoulder injury, listed as questionable, but of course is expected to go in this one. Frank Frangie, thank you so much for joining us, and of course, best of luck on the call this afternoon with the Hall of Famer, Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and Bucky Brooks.
Okay, man. Hey, thank you, guys.
There he goes, Frank Frangie, and of course, our pregame coverage continues once we get off the air at 10 a.m. with the Publix Tailgate Show with J.P. Shadrick, Brian Sexton, and the gang, and then they will eventually hand it off to Frank, Tony, and Jeff Lageman. And Bucky Brooks. You ready to head into the locker room, Hayes?
Let's do it.
Let's head into the locker room. Who did you catch up with this week?
Andre Cisco.
All right, absolutely. Let's hear from number 5 coming up next when the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show continues.
Share your life with 1010XL. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Oh, wait. I'm going to take a picture and post it on Facebook. What? Hashtag
1010XL.
Ready to snag the best deals in Jacksonville? Come by Century Firearms for unbeatable prices and an extensive inventory that caters to all tastes. From hunting to shooting, we've got it all. Brands like Glock, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, and Kimber. Everything from sidearms to rifles. Need some gear for your upcoming outdoor adventures? We can load you up. Elevate your adventure today at Century Firearms, where we make buying guns easy. San Jose and Mandarin Road, online at jacksguns.com.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at jaguars.com/shadows. One winner and guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit jaguars.com. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is the sports medicine leader in Northeast Florida. We're proud to be the official sports medicine provider for your hometown teams, including the Jaguars, Sharks, Axemen, Armada, and the Jumbo Shrimp. We have the most cutting-edge resources for sports medicine care, including active armor casting, Alter-G anti-gravity treadmills, and highly trained physicians and athletic trainers. JOI is truly where the pros go, and so should you.
Something happens when you begin to believe. What seems way off in the distance gets closer.
You focus on what needs to get done, and you'll let nothing get in your way.
Next year becomes this year, and maybe next time becomes now.
A whole city will rally behind you and begin to believe too.
Because when you believe, the unbelievable can happen. We believe in justice for everyone, and we believe we're the attorneys to help people get it. Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jaguars. Jacksonville.
Excelling in the classroom and the sports arena is quite an accomplishment. That's why 1010XL salutes the Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Wednesdays on The Frangie Show, brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234.
Looking for quality equipment and a name you can trust? Lepo Rents, Bobcat of Jacksonville, is your premier construction equipment dealer and rental house. We have the right equipment for the job, offering the big and small tools needed for your next project. Lepo sells and rents track loaders, excavators, boom lifts, and much more. For your next project, remember Lepo Rents, your authorized Bobcat dealer in Jacksonville. Visit them online at leporents.com.
Hey, it's Mike Dempsey, and you know how I feel about Pella Windows and Doors. Great design, strongest warranties, and the highest quality product. I even chose Pella Windows for my own home. And whether you're a homeowner replacing windows or building a new home or a trade professional working with clients, I know the design experts at Pella will help your project run smoothly and look great. Visit PellaJacks.com or the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Brian Wall here. Would you take your paycheck, go to the bank, cash it, and then simply throw it up in the air? I didn't think so. But in a way, over the years, that is exactly what you're doing if you have old or builder-grade windows in your home. Even if you have a brand new home, those windows are not the best windows you can have to save on your energy bills. Window World has sold millions of replacement windows to homeowners like you, and Window World's customer satisfaction is the highest in the business. Please check Window World out yourself and save on your new windows and on your energy bills. Compare with other companies and you'll see Window World is simply the best for less. It's up to you. You can call Window World and get a free estimate, get the best guarantee in the window replacement business, save money on your new windows, and save more on your energy bills. Call Window World today at 904-443-7001 or go online to windowworldneflorida.com. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Hello, Jacksonville. I'm Greg McGarity, President and CEO of Gator Bowl Sports. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl game and events have been a Jacksonville staple for more than 76 years. But we are more than just a game. We support more than 4,500 local youth annually through Gator Bowl charities initiatives. This community impact in the football game are made possible by a membership of more than 250 corporate, green jacket, and junior members. Gator Bowl Sports is a perfect way for local companies and people to get involved and give back to our community. I'd love to meet you and talk to you about how you can join our team. Call me at 798-1700.
E.T. here, Brackish Vodka, Jacksonville produced and distilled. A gluten-free corn-based vodka is the smoothest vodka you've ever had. Because it's mineral salt filtered after being distilled 5 times, you get the smoothest vodka on the market. And it's made right here in Jacksonville. When you drink gluten-free Brackish Vodka, you are supporting a local business and not a business based in Texas. Taste why 9 out of 10 people pick Brackish Vodka in a blind taste test. Drink like a local. Drink Brackish Vodka.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Starting your game day.
The famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch. Live from Tailgaters Parking on 1010XL.
Got about 60 plus of you wonderful 1010XL listeners watching us on YouTube right now. We love to see those of you interacting on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Of course, the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. So as you're getting ready for the Jaguars and the Texans, if you're making your way over to the stadium, make sure you either stop on by and say hi when you arrive, or, of course, you interact on those various channels. Mia O'Brien alongside Hayes Carline and Andrew Gibson. This is the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. Jaguars and Texans set to kick off at 1 o'clock today. Without further ado, let's take a look at the injury report.
The personal injury attorneys of Farah & Farah present this injury update. Farah & Farah, Jacksonville, the official personal injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And we will begin with the hometown Big Cats. Already 2 players have been ruled out of this contest. Antonio Johnson still has not made his NFL debut. That one was a little bit expected, Hayes, as he continues to make his way back from the hamstring injury. Nose Jones, though, which a knee injury that he suffered against the Chiefs last week. He did come back, though, in the second half, which is why I'm a little curious as to the extent of that knee injury. We saw him in the locker room. He was getting treatment throughout the course of the week. Still had a smile on, still with signature Zay, but obviously has been ruled out of this one.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because he's such a big part of this thing, and so, but luckily it's not anything major. There's a decent chance he'll be active, next week in London against the Falcons. So hopefully it's just a 1-week absence, but he's a big part of it. Antonio Johnson's interesting, not so much that he's out still, but the fact that they didn't short-term IR him tells me how much they must love him.
Right.
Because I think they were hoping that maybe he'd be ready week 2, week 3, and normally if it's even remotely close, teams will just, particularly a rookie, a late-round rookie, you just, short-term IR the player, give him the 4 weeks, and then maybe you bring him back in week 5. So the fact that because now he's going to miss, basically they could have short-termed IR him because he's going to at best play next week,
right?
Which would be game 4. So you'd get him back a game early. But to me, that speaks to how much they must really love Antonio Johnson.
It also speaks to me, knowing full well that part of why the Jaguars identified Antonio Johnson in the draft process was to man-mark tight ends. You got a pretty good one that you got to face off with next week in Kyle Pitts. So perhaps Antonio can make his NFL debut next week across the pond. 3 players questionable for your Jags. We just mentioned one with Frank Frangie on the All-Pro Roofing Hotline, and Josh Allen. Andrew Dewey, Wingard, and Foley Fatukasi, all 3 players questionable with shoulder injuries. Any of those, I mean, obviously we know Josh Allen suffered the injury last week during the game against the Chiefs, Hayes. The other 2 presumably suffered it during the game, but kind of popped up on the injury report during the week this week, which is a little surprising for me.
I think Fatukasi is the key there, just because you would think that Houston's looking at this game of, if there's any chance here, it's to try and protect our revamped front with a lot of run game and Dameon Pierce and slow the game down and keep the Jaguars off the field. And do you look up with 5 minutes left and you're in a 13-10 game that maybe you can pull out if you get the right break? So I think, Fatukasi being active is huge. Again, not having Hamilton. So with Roy Robertson-Harris, Fatukasi, I like what they have from a run defense standpoint. Trayvon and Josh Allen obviously play a big role in that as well. If the Jaguars can slow down the Houston ground game, I really don't think Houston has a great path to victory. I just don't see C.J. Stroud putting the team on his back and having an air show today against the Jags. So I think Fatukasi being active is gigantic.
And I do think the Dewey factor is interesting because as we talk about this run game for Houston, that 3 safety look that the Jaguars used against the Baltimore Ravens last year, we didn't see them use it against Houston because Dameon Pierce wasn't active later in the season when they faced them a second go-around. That's a look that we've seen at times so far this year. Obviously, the Colts and the Chiefs aren't super run-heavy teams, but it's something I'm curious to see if we would see today.
Yeah, I like that look. I think it fits the Jaguars' personnel well. Wingard does a great job in it. And so, and he's incredibly valuable on special teams. So, I mean, he's a key component as well. And I'm intrigued to see what the offense looks like without Zay Jones. It doesn't appear like they're going to go with more heavier personnel and more double tight end looks. Brenton Strange, maybe, does he get more playing time? It doesn't seem like that. It seems like they're going to kind of do their thing. It's just going to be Tim Jones stepping in for Zay, and we'll see how that looks.
And we'll see if Jacob Harris, who was elevated off the practice squad yesterday, is a factor at all on the offensive side of the ball. Let's flip it over to the Texans because, oh, baby, this injury report, woo, boy. Derek Stingley, the former 3rd overall pick, has been placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Laramie Tunsil, again, the pride of Lake City, Columbia, with a knee injury. He was questionable for this game. He did not travel, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network and Adam Schefter of ESPN yesterday. That means 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen for the Texans not in this game. Meanwhile, Denzel Perryman, Jalen Petrie, and Tavier Thomas all have been ruled out. Obviously, their secondary is depleted too, as if 4 out of 5 offensive linemen being out wasn't bad enough, Hayes. Which of those, though, stands out the most to you?
The offensive line is the biggest concern because there's just no depth in the NFL, let alone a team like Houston. So when you're talking about having to get to number 6, 7, 8, 9 in your rotation, that's a real tough task for any team. The secondary is huge as well, in the sense that, I mean, again, imagine the Jaguars having to play a game where you don't have Tyson Campbell and Rayshon Jenkins and Trey Herndon, and I mean, it'd be a challenge, and Houston's no different here. Again, this is a young team, a struggling team. They're not going to have the depth, of some of the other, squads in the NFL. So, I mean, this would be tough for a team like the Ravens to handle. And they're one of the most well-built teams, 1 through 53 in the NFL. It's too much to ask, and it's really unusual to see 2 units decimated in week 3. And that's the only way to describe what the Texans are dealing with along the offensive line and in their secondary. They are decimated.
And one of the guys, Mia Petrie, had 5 interceptions last year as a rookie.
I really like him.
Great
5
player.
picks.
I really, really like Petrie, perhaps even more than Stingley coming out of their rookie season, although Stingley did have that interception of Trevor on the goal line last time these two teams met here in Jacksonville 1 season ago. That's the Farrah and Farrah injury update. And as Hayes noted, knock on wood, the Jaguar secondary is pretty darn healthy. Let's check in with one of those players. Hayes caught up with Andre Sisco earlier this week.
All right, we're pleased to be joined with Jaguar safety Andre Sisco here on 1010XL 92.5 FM, man. It's great to see you. How you doing?
Good. How you?
Doing great. Good week of practice so far for you?
Good week of practice, bro. I mean, every week is so different. So to be able to come in here, get the right work done, have the right mindset, energy high, it's a blessing.
What were some positives that you guys took out of the game against the Chiefs last week defensively?
Positives, I would say play recognition. I think we're building our chemistry as a defense in terms of that. I also like the way we took the ball away. And then I would add on to that, I think we played all 4 quarters. Yeah.
Defensively, Houston presents some challenges. They're a lot of speed at receiver. What stands out about Nico Collins and this rookie Tank Dell?
I say the receivers are very consistent, very versatile. So you could expect a lot of different routes from pretty much each and every one of them. C.J. Stroud is good with his throws, very on time with it. So, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I know C.J. off the field, and I know the Texans coming in here to play. They'll never come up without the right energy and right approach. So we got a big game ahead.
C.J. is yet to throw a pick in 91 attempts. What stands out on film in terms of the decision-making that he's showing?
Very decisive. I think if he doesn't like it, he's not throwing it, which is smart as a rookie. Some guys want to get on ESPN Top 10. He's not doing that. He's doing the best for his team, making the short throws, and it's been working out. The guy's been getting a lot of yards after catch too. So, we got a big job ahead for sure.
Andre, what's standing out to you about your play? It seems like you're off to a fantastic start through 2 weeks.
I think just growing in the defense, growing as a person. Allowing God to take over on the field, not really overthinking things. Still got a long way to go, but I was happy that I've been able to kind of step up in my type of leadership role and just embrace that.
You guys talked in the offseason about the familiarity with Coach Caldwell's scheme and so many guys back. Has that paid dividends now that you're a couple games into the regular season? Are you seeing that come to fruition?
Yeah, I think even on both sides of the ball, not both sides of the ball, in terms of for the coaches and the players, it's so much easier for them to communicate things to us without having to over-explain. We kind of know what they want. We're able to just play ball from there. They trust us. And, we still have work to do, definitely a lot of work to do. But for week 2 of our second year, I'm happy about where we're at.
There's a lot of newness, obviously, with Houston, new coach and D'Amico Ryans and everything. Through 2 games, is there enough that you kind of have a pretty good feel for what they're going to try and do, or are we still early enough where there could be wrinkles?
No, there's going to be wrinkles. Division game on the road. They're giving their best shot just like we are. So I would expect wrinkles as always. Obviously offensive game plans aren't going to be night and day from last week, but depending on the pace of the game, you should expect some new looks.
Pierce is obviously physical in the ground game. From your position, what kind of challenge does he present?
I think knowing the runs and getting guys on him. He likes to break tackles, and he's been good at that throughout the past year and a half he's been in the league. So, getting more than one hat on him, get him down early.
Andre Sisco, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck to you.
All right, bro.
Appreciate Andre Sisco's time, and I think he's off to a fantastic start, and I would anticipate another big-time performance today from Andre Sisco.
It's kind of interesting because he has a pick week 2. Tyson Campbell had a pick week 1. Those are the 2 players that, we talked about. Probably should have been in the conversation a season ago for top 10, top 15, even top 5 at times at their position in the National Football League. If they continue at the trajectory they're at, and if the Jags continue to ascend as a team, Hayes, for me, those 2 guys should be household names. And the fact that they're not, I know even some people inside the building have said it's almost concerning that people aren't talking about them both in the city of Jacksonville and nationally.
Yeah, and again, they're going to be coming up on paydays, well-earned paydays, and so that's exciting. It's good to have this young talent that they've drafted. second-round pick in Tyson Campbell, third-round pick in Andre Sisco, and they're really blossoming. And it's exciting to see what the Jaguars have in their secondary because I think Campbell and Sisco could be teammates for a decade.
Let's keep the party going. Hour number 2 of the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff show rolling on right here on 1010XL. We're going to head behind enemy lines. We're going to wake up this poor gentleman a little bit early in the Central Time Zone, Cole Thompson from Sports Map Radio, who covers the Texans as college football in the state of Texas. Going to join us next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Wingstop is here, and we're serving up some serious flavor. Classic wings, boneless wings, tenders, chicken sandwich, we have it all. Download the Wingstop app or order online at wingstop.com from the new Wingstop at 96604 Argyle Forest Boulevard.
The Money Pages brings you this week's Red Zone featured player of the week. Number 32, Jaguars cornerback Tyson Campbell. Campbell played college ball for Georgia and was taken by the Jags in the second round of the 2021 draft. Pick up this week's Jags game program with a commemorative ticket of Tyson Campbell. Download the Money Pages app for weekly specials. Money Pages, official sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Looking for quality equipment and a name you can trust? Lepo Rents, Bobcat of Jacksonville, is your premier construction equipment dealer and rental house. We have the right equipment for the job, offering the big and small tools needed for your next project. Lepo sells and rents track loaders, excavators, boom lifts, and much more. For your next project, remember Lepo Rents, your authorized Bobcat dealer in Jacksonville. Visit them online at leporents.com.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at jaguars.com/shadows. One winner and guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit jaguars.com. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
It's a roller coaster ride of emotions when I watch a Gator game. I'm Hayes Carline. Listen for my instant reaction, brought to you by 5-Star Pizza. Bigger, better, faster pizza on 1010XL social channels.
Ready to snag the best deals in Jacksonville? Come by Century Firearms for unbeatable prices and an extensive inventory that caters to all tastes. From hunting to shooting, we've got it all. Brands like Glock, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, and Kimber. Everything from sidearms to rifles. Need some gear for your upcoming outdoor adventures? We can load you up. Elevate your adventure today at Century Firearms, where we make buying guns easy. San Jose and Mandarin Road, online at jacksguns.com.
Steve Hackett, Genesis Revisited. Foxtrot at 50, plus Hackett's Highlights. Friday, March 1st, to Florida Theater. Tickets on sale now at floridatheater.com.
Hello, Jacksonville. I'm Greg McGarity, President and CEO of Gator Bowl Sports. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl game and events have been a Jacksonville staple for more than 76 years. But we are more than just a game. We support more than 4,500 local youth annually through Gator Bowl charities initiatives. This community impact in the football game are made possible by a membership of more than 250 corporate, Green Jacket, and junior members. Gator Bowl Sports is a perfect way for local companies and people to get involved and give back to our community. I'd love to meet you and talk to you about how you can join our team. Call me at 798-1700.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM. Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. Home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Getting game day underway. Live from Tailgaters Parking, the famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch on 1010XL.
Hour number 2 of the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show officially underway. The Jaguars tangle with the Houston Texans coming up at 1 p.m. Mia O'Brien, Hayes Carline, Andrew Gibson with you until 10 a.m. And we are excited now to head behind enemy lines on the All-Pro Roofing Hotline and say hello to our next guest.
Now let's go behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
The last time we spoke with Cole Thompson of Sports Map Radio out in Houston was before last year's meeting between the Jaguars and the Texans here at now Everbank Stadium. And Cole, that game a bit of a stinker, although obviously Houston came out victorious, so perhaps a good day at the office for you. First of all, good morning. I know it's a little bit earlier out there in Houston than it is here. And secondly, are we expecting a game of a similar variety here today?
Yeah, Mia, I'm not really sure. I think the main thing that you want to look at is, again, this was the game that really put Dameon Pierce on the map. Everyone remembers that epic run he got towards the end zone, his ability to be able to maneuver and start off the 13-6 victory. That might be your best bread and butter if you're able to find some bit of impact in that type of performance. Now, it may not come from Pierce because the Texans are playing without 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. They have a little bit of inconsistency at wide receiver, but they do have the quarterback in C.J. Stroud. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to be able to do. On the flip side, though, I'm not sure we're going to be expecting that similar type of game. When you're missing 4 of your starting 7 defensive back in your 7 backfield, plus you're already down and out of the count when it comes to the run defense up front, primarily due to the depth in the trenches, it could be a game that either ends really fast or a game that where there's a lot more questions on Jacksonville's side than Houston's.
Cole, what's been your impressions of C.J. Stroud so far?
The kid is doing everything that you saw from him coming out of college. He's accurate, he's poised, he delivers a great ball, and the one thing that's really stood out is his ability to lead his receivers. And what I mean by that is every single one of his throws, they never seem to be put in a situation to where you'll watch a defensive back make an athletic play or be able to come up with a turnover. Every ball finds its way into just the right spot in a perfect window for the receiver to make a play on the ball. And that's really helped out with his confidence. That's really helped out with him kind of learning how to build through his footwork. It's helped him build a nice rapport with young receivers like Nico Collins, like Tank Dell. But you've also seen him be able to rely heavily on a veteran such as Robert Wood. The thing that is really important this week, and Bobby Slowick implemented it going into this upcoming practice, was he wanted to make sure the tight ends got more involved. This is a very good offense that prioritizes itself on being run-oriented and tight end-friendly. We all know that right now a quarterback's best friend when they're growing up is in the slot and in the tight end position. They went out and they spent money at getting Dalton Schultz for this exact reason. He's been very limited so far, but when you go through the duress of having to deal with 4 different offensive lines throughout the preseason, then lose basically your entire starting offensive line throughout the first 2 weeks, and you're still finishing top 5 in passing yards and in passing completions, I'm going to say that you're doing a pretty good job of making the transition from the collegiate level to the NFL level.
You can find him on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days at Mr. Cole Thompson, and he is our guest on the All-Pro Roofing Hotline as we go behind enemy lines. Cole, since you brought it up, that offensive line, what is it going to look like today? And perhaps has that been the biggest factor for Dameon Pierce's slow start to the 2023 campaign?
I have to say so, Mia. You go back and you watch, there was like 3 runs. They were all counter runs going towards the right side last week against Indianapolis, and he has no protection. I mean, you're watching Jarrett Patterson and not Shaq Mason, George Fant kind of work up field and just allow the linebackers to kind of snake their way through into the backfield for a loss of 2 when it should be about a gain of 4 or a gain of 5. That's really been a major concern. And the continuity on the offensive line has been a big deal because going into the week, you had Josh Jones playing left guard. Then you had Laramie Tunsil playing left tackle. Then you also had George Fant playing right tackle. And then you have a bunch of other things that go on. And now you have Kendrick Green playing left guard, Josh Jones playing left tackle, George Fant splitting reps with Josh Jones at right tackle throughout practice. So there's not a lot of continuity on the offensive line because if you don't know who are going to be the starting 5 every week, this week you will probably expect to see the same thing as what you saw last week. Josh Jones at left tackle, Jared Patterson at center, Kendrick Green at left guard, Shaq Mason staying a stalwart at right tackle, right guard, and George Fant staying at right tackle. Now, going into the next time that you face off against the Texans, there's a very good shot you will have back a healthy Juice Scruggs, the second-round pick out of Penn State, Titus Howard, who you are banking on being your stalwart at right tackle because he gave him a contract extension literally 2 or 3 days before the injury occurred. And then, of course, Laramie Tunsil, the all-pro left tackle who's been a staple on the left side since coming to Houston.
Defenders today for Houston that have to play well to hold the Jaguars to a reasonable number.
Could you repeat that, guys? I'm sorry about that. You cut out.
Yeah, sure thing. Who are some defenders for the Texans that have to come up big today to hold the Jaguars to a respectable number?
Well, let's start off with the main guy right now. It's definitely Will Anderson. This has been an absolute playmaker since coming his way over to Houston, and a lot of people thought he may struggle with making the transition to a full-time 5 technique. He has been arguably the best defensive player every single day on a continuous basis. He does a great job of working upfield, but D'Amico Ryans also does a very good job of stunting him by allowing the defensive tackles to work their way out, thus opening B and C gap and him finding avenues to kind of break his way into the backfield and force a couple of turnovers, a couple of takeaways. And he's also had, I think, 3 tackles for losses in his first 2 games. So he's a name that you really want to monitor. Steven Nelson. I know that everyone right now has been focusing in on the Derek Stingley news, but throughout training camp, Steven Nelson has been the more consistent cornerback. He's done a great job of working with both the speed of Tank Dell, working with the size of Robert Woods, working inside the nickel at times against tight ends like Dalton Schultz. Last week, or in the Week 1 opener against Baltimore, he actually had an interception while lined up in the nickel. So there's an opportunity for him to be able to kind of be versatile, play everywhere. He'll make plays on Evan Ingram. He'll be able to go toe-to-toe with Christian Kirk. The question is there going to be anybody that can stop Calvin Ridley? That's a major deal. I think Jimmy Ward's a name that everyone needs to keep an eye on. The guy has been basically a playmaker at a multitude of different positions. We asked D'Amico Ryans earlier this week with the Tavier Thomas injury, would he be moving down back to his nickel position? He said no. That will be Braylon Arnold's job, the 4th-round pick out of Baylor back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and then Ward will stay at safety. How he looks, especially defending the run on Travis Etienne, will be a very intriguing matchup in my opinion.
More for Cole Thompson on the All-Pro Roofing Hotline. Again, you can find him on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. Since we bring up the defense, Cole, let's talk pass rush a little bit. Obviously, as you mentioned, Will Anderson, perhaps the most likely culprit to get to Trevor Lawrence today. Otherwise, where is the pass rush being generated from for Houston?
D'Amico's doing a really good job of running stunts, so I would keep a close eye on Jonathan Grenard. There were multiple plays last week where if you watch Malik Collins and if you watch Sheldon Rankins, they open up the lanes on the outside, and you'll see a delay stunt from Jonathan Grenard kind of come around the corner. So he works his way into the backfield, and he gets pressure on Gardner Minshew actually pretty consistently. Jerry Hughes is another name to keep a close eye on in this matchup, and Dylan Horton, his 4th-round pick out of TCU. They do a pretty good job of rotating them in, But what's interesting is that there have been times this year where they won't take off Will and they won't take off JG. What they'll do is they'll take off Malik Collins. So they'll run like a 3 defensive lineman set where all they are pass rushers. One will take the inside corner, one will run a stunt through the outside, one will push his way through C-gap, and they'll find a way to get the linebacker play as well. I would not be shocked to see also potentially a guy like Henry To'oTo'o be a blitzer. He's going to be filling in all 3 phases of the linebacking for today. When they run the 4-3, he'll be taking reps at the Sam linebacker spot. When they run the nickel position, he'll move inside to Mike. When they run the dime position as well, he's likely going to be your main bread and butter on the field. So I would expect this to be a very good game from Jerry Hughes, from Jonathan Grenard, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Henry To'oTo'o walk away with a sack or at least a couple pressures on the day.
Cole, tell us about this exciting rookie receiver, Tank Dell.
The guy is fast. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie The Longest Yard where they're talking about Nelly's character, I mean, he made guys not look fast. That's the only way to talk about him. He's great when it comes to open field play. He's excellent when it comes to winning at the point of the attack or the route. But I think the biggest thing that he's worked on so far is building that relationship with C.J. Stroud. There were 3 drives last week where you could see Stroud going through his progression, and the guy who was always coming up number 1 was number 3. They are looking like they are building something for the promising future. He was supposed to have 2 touchdowns last week, one of which was just a great route by him against single-man coverage. The other one, open field, just complete madness, race to the end zone. Unfortunately, one was called back due to a holding call, but these two, they know how to play well together. He's an exceptional route runner, and he's looked really good so far building a rapport in camp with this offense.
A bit of a homecoming as well. Tank Dell originally hailing from Daytona Beach, having attended Mainland High School, but then, of course, a nice story, too, that he went to the University of Houston. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cole, it was that he Instagram DM'd or something, the Texans account, and he said, like, please draft me or something like that?
On his very last college game, he messaged the Texans Instagram and he said, please do not let me leave Houston. And lo and behold, 4.5 months later, they made a phone call and said, you're not going anywhere, buddy.
Incredible, incredible. All right, before we let you go, Cole, on the All-Pro Roofing Hotline, a score prediction for today's Jaguars-Texans contest.
I expect this to be actually pretty close in the first half. I really want to see what Trevor Lawrence can do if they take away his number 1 receiver in Calvin Ridley. But Calvin Ridley is no joke. You've already seen the relationship build to a high standard. I think that they're a top 10 combo in the NFL right now, the way that they're playing. I think by the second half, you just see that the injuries, the lack of depth, and, of course, the rotational bit of starters is going to get to Houston. I think final score, you're looking at 31-17 in favor of the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has to bounce back in the second half. I expect a couple of touchdowns to Calvin Ridley as well.
More high scoring than everybody around here who thinks the sky is falling probably predicted. So, hey, we will take it. Cole Thompson of Sports Map Radio, thank you so much for stopping by, brother.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Mia. You guys take care.
Absolutely, and a shout-out to Cole taking my good friend Jake Asman to his first ever high school football game in the state of Texas on Friday. Cole's got it all covered. Again, you can follow him, Mr. Cole Thompson, on Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it these days, as he also covers a good amount of college football, but then, of course, follows the Texans as a beat reporter for Sports Map Radio as well. Let's keep it rolling on the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show, brought to you, of course, by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch. Our keys to the game, as well as another stop in the Jaguars locker room, await on the other side of this timeout. This is 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
The action. The motion.
You see that acceleration.
Feel the active emotion of live play-by-play.
It's amazing how much energy.
On 1010XL.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at jaguars.com/shadows. One winner a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit jaguars.com. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
Ready to snag the best deals in Jacksonville? Come by Century Firearms for unbeatable prices and an extensive inventory that caters to all tastes. From hunting to shooting, we've got it all. Brands like Glock, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, and Kimber. Everything from sidearms to rifles. Need some gear for your upcoming outdoor adventures? We can load you up. Elevate your adventure today at Century Firearms, where we make buying guns easy. San Jose and Mandarin Road, online at jacksguns.com.
This is Fast Twitch, a new energy drink from Gatorade.
Fast Twitch, an energy drink from Gatorade in 6 different flavors, including strawberry watermelon, cool blue, and tropical mango. And available at your local Winn-Dixie.
Start fast with Fast Twitch, a new energy drink from Gatorade.
On-the-go energy from Gatorade. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie.
Hey, Jags fans, are you tired of roof leaks raining on your parade? Don't worry, Universal Roof and Contracting has got you covered. Their expert team of roofers will get your roof back in the game so you can focus on cheering on the Jags. Locally owned and operated, they've serviced Florida homeowners for over 30 years. Visit universalroof.com to schedule your free estimate today. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 1330747, CBC 1258484.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoors Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
When I say famous, what comes to mind? Celebrities? Athletes? What about your vehicle maintenance? Oh, okay, auto repair. Exactly. Now, when you need fast and reliable care for your ride, stop in to a Famous Automotive or Famous Quick Lube with 20 locations around town, providing honest automotive service at your convenience 7 days a week. They also offer fleet accounts for your business. Sign up anytime at Famous Automotive and Quick Lube, servicing every customer like they're famous.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
It's a force that can't be contained. Propelled by purpose, pride, and the power to protect. When winning isn't just the mission, it's your passion. You pursue it. You make power plays. You pick your team. At Farrah & Farrah, we deliver game day energy 24/7. Jacksonville.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Wingstop is here, and we're serving up some serious flavor. Classic wings, boneless wings, tenders, chicken sandwich, we have it all. Download the Wingstop app or order online at wingstop.com from the new Wingstop at 96604 Argyle Forest Boulevard.
Whether you are looking for a job or an employer trying to hire, there's only one stop in Jacksonville, Remedy Staffing. Labor trends keep us guessing. As employers, the job market has been strong. So what does that mean for workers' availability? If you're interested in the workforce solutions or how the Remedy team can help you, call or text Crystal at 904-329-9802. 329-9802, Remedy Staffing.
Honey, are you using the hot water?
No.
The water's cold again. How can we fix it? Did you just quack like a duck?
Yep. Duck Duck Rooter, your plumbing pros in Northeast Florida. For water heater installation and service, including tankless water heaters, gas or electric, call for a quote today.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville, the famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. Live from Tailgaters Parking. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation
and Gatorade Fast Twitch
on 1010XL.
Beautiful day here at Tailgaters Parking and Growler Bar and Grill. We've noted, I think, at least 3 or 4 times, boys, just how nice the temperatures are compared to 1 week ago.
It's gorgeous.
Perhaps the results on the field will be just as nice compared to last week for your hometown Jacksonville Jaguars. Our thanks to Cole Thompson of Sports Map Radio for joining us behind enemy lines, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. And
Good job setting up these interviews.
Oh, thank you.
These guys have been fantastic.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Yes, and thank you, Casey Dobson, for holding down the fort back at 1010XL World Headquarters. We thankfully have a lot of great reporters in the NFL right now, and weird connections. Shout out to the Ithaca College alma mater, because for some reason we've got connections everywhere, and Cole, of course, is a good buddy of the aforementioned Jake Asman, who also used to work at Sports Map Radio. Without further ado, let's look at our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys.
Now, the keys to the game. Brought to you by Instant Keys, fast, professional, honest locksmith service.
I think Frank Frangie really hammered it home in the first hour of the kickoff show today. Run the ball. In the words of The Blind Side, I don't know if we're allowed to say that, if that's like a taboo movie to talk about on the air these days. But, I mean, Leanne Tui said it best. Run the dang ball. This team got so far away from the run, which I understand you have this treasure trove of riches at wide receiver, at tight end. But the reality is, Hayes, is that you have 2 number 1 running backs in Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. I understand Bigsby is young. I understand he took his lumps week 1. But in short yardage situations, you drafted him in the 3rd round for a reason. Travis Etienne looks as good in between the tackles as he has looked in his NFL career. Give them the ball, please. I am begging.
Yeah, I think it's a great key because, again, when you've got an offensive line that's struggling, the best way to get them into sort of a groove is just, look, put it in their hands and say, we're going to ground and pound. We're going to run the ball at these guys until they stop it, and then we're going to run it some more and make sure that they've really got it stopped. And so, again, this offensive line, it needs some cohesion. It needs to get going. It needs to gel. The run game's the best way for them to do that. So it sets up well for them in that regard. And, looking at it from the Jaguar defensive perspective is, it's obviously C.J. Stroud's there for the taking today. I mean, he's already been sacked 11 times. Their offensive line is missing 4 guys. So the key has got to be pressure C.J. Stroud into making bad decisions. I don't think he's going to take the number of sacks. I don't think he's taking 5 or 6 sacks today. I think he is going to be very cognizant of the beating he's already taken. I think the ball is going to get out probably quicker than he even would like it to, and that's going to lend itself to opportunities for the Jaguars to pick him off. So when those plays are there to be made, got to make them. And I have confidence the Jaguars will.
I did confirm this on XL Primetime earlier this week. Shout out to our friends on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Denzel Perryman was indeed the Raiders defender that you remember Trevor Lawrence was smack-talking in that meeting last year when he said, keep coming at me, I'm messed up. Same guy, except he won't be in this game. And that's obviously a huge loss in the linebacking core for the Houston Texans. That's why I'd expect a heavy dose of Evan Ingram today. Christian Harris did have some flashes against the Jaguars last year. Corey Littleton, obviously a known commodity. Other than that, that's a young linebacking core for the Texans. And so I would expect Doug Peterson to draw up some plays to not only get Evan Ingram open, but perhaps Brenton Strange as well over the middle.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Brenton Strange has been quiet so far, and it's good. Ease him in, and certainly he was in no rush to have to contribute. But I think it's time. Again, you're not going to have Zay Jones, so I'd like to see a little heavier personnel at times, and Brenton Strange would be a big part of that. So I'm hopeful that he'll have a little bit bigger of a role. I want to see what he can do and see where he is at this stage of his development.
One more from me. I am a little weary about the fact that Trayvon Walker played 85% of the snaps week 1 against the Colts. I talked to Trayvon about it in the locker room. Of course, he says, my fitness is at an all-time level. I'm prepared for it. Of course, you understand that the Jaguars expect to get DeJuan Smoot back at some point in October, but that is where, Hayes, I do have a little bit of a concern because I just think they are putting so much on the shoulders of Trayvon Walker and an already banged-up Josh Allen. So I would love to see, dare I say, the sack guru with the second straight week with a sack. Yes, Kaylavon Chason, I'm talking about you. Or do they bring Devin Lloyd, who has looked great so far through 2 weeks compared to where he was a year ago? Do they try to bring him after the quarterback, or is it more design blitzes from that secondary? I just think they need something to take the weight of the world off those two guys.
Yeah, it's a great call because that is asking an awful lot from a snap percentage of Trayvon Walker. And I think Devin Lloyd is a good answer to that. And Chason, we'll see. It was good that he did something positive last week. Hopefully that can continue forward. I still think that trade deadline could be a hot zone for them making a move to boost their pass rush if there is a guy available. But that's months down the road. We've got time to talk about that. For the here and now, I mean, this should be a matchup where they own the edge. And, again, they need to develop some depth. It's going to be great when they get Smoot back, probably right around the Buffalo game, something like that. Maybe it's the second Colts game when they come back from London. So that'll be exciting. He's a great player, but it would certainly be great to see somebody else being able to shoulder the load and feel like you're not having a massive drop-off in that regard. So I'm excited to see it. And, I also think, Tyson Campbell needs to come up big today. Nico Collins has got a lot of speed. He's coming off, about 147 yards against the Colts. And, again, a lot of that was when the game was out of reach for Houston. But you still have to honor what they did and be mindful of it. So I would expect Tyson Campbell to rise to the occasion today.
Yeah, 7 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. I think Tank Dell has gotten a lot of the headlines just because he is a rookie and that speed. But Nico Collins, a third-year player that continues to develop for Houston, and obviously someone the Jags defense will have their eye on. Those are our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys. We mentioned Devin Lloyd. I caught up with the Jaguars' other starting inside linebacker, Foye Oluokun, earlier this week. Obviously, as is well documented, a season ago, Hayes, Foye spent a lot of his time having to teach Devin where to be, the communication piece of it. He says that it has completely turned to 180, and he has more insight from the Jaguars locker room. Pleased to be joined with Jaguars inside linebacker and captain Foye Oluokun. Foye, I want to start with this. I just asked Andre, would you guys have 6 turnovers through 2 games if not for Bob Sutton's shirts that he made you guys?
It's all about Sutton, man, thinking takeaways. Remember, you got to remember, you move in the direction of your most dominant thought. And then you got to remember, the will to prepare has to be stronger than the will to win. Bob Sutton.
Bob Sutton. How much has Bob meant? I think he's one of the unsung heroes on the coaching staff for you guys. What has he meant to this group over the last 2 years?
I mean, it's just leadership, really. Tidbits and stuff. Understand he's seen so much, so when he says something, even if we're goofy and stuff, we know he means it, and we know he's seen it work. He puts the stats, to back up everything that he says. So when he's talking about takeaways, you see what happens when you take the ball away. Why not keep doing it?
There's been a lot of questions about where the offense can improve from Sunday. You guys put together a complete game on defense for the most part, but where can the defense improve?
We can improve for sure. Tackling a little bit on them long third down so they can't go for it on fourth. Finishing the rush plan or whatever, bringing down the quarterback. I know I missed a sack. We got a lot to improve, to be honest. We could have went out and won that game if we did the whole game. So obviously coming out of half, they had a drive, popped off a long run, so being able to fit that gap right there in that little counter, we got a lot to improve.
Second year in the system, for you. Second year in the system, second year in the league for Devin. How have you seen him? Game 2 this time last year versus game 2 this past Sunday.
Our communication, knowing what to talk about, knowing where to be at, knowing how to help me out, knowing what calls to get and give. That's just big in a defense in general. That way everybody's playing together instead of waiting to rely on you're going to be a step behind where you don't anticipate what to expect. You know what I'm saying? So him coming along has definitely been good for the defense. He's able to communicate with people on the whole other side of the field about stuff, and they're trusting him. So it's just good. Everybody's knowing what to do.
Communication in general on defense from this time last year to where we are now.
Everybody's communicating. There's no lot less second guessing on stuff. Motions, you already know what you're going to check into. It's good. It's been a lot better, but obviously stuff we can improve on because I know teams are going to try to find out what we might lack or something, so stuff to improve on.
Texans offense, pretty young, pretty much across the board. Pretty good. Okay, where do they stand out?
They're talented, they're physical, they run hard, they can throw it if they're open. Like, they're good to me.
How much have you guys talked, well, I'm sure you've talked about it, but thought about Dameon Pierce since the last time he visited the bank?
Yeah, we watched, obviously, the last game we played here at the bank. We know what kind of back he is. Ventrell played with him, so he knows. But everybody played, he's always bringing it every run. So we know what we have to do, what kind of energy we have to bring in order to combat that.
This one in particular, you guys, I know it was mentioned earlier in the week, and not that we're looking back, but have only beaten them once in 7 tries. Has that been a rallying cry around here?
Rallying cry is we got to go 2-0 in the division. Every game is important. Obviously, we don't want history, that tendency to continue, but we just taking it like the most important game because it's the next game, divisional game. Like, all the implications are there for why it's important for us. I'm sure they got reasons why it's important for them, but they had to match our intensity when we bring the right intensity.
Doug, you're good. Doug described it on Sunday as there are guys who are ticked off in the locker room on Sunday after the game. How would you describe the energy following the loss?
Just, we know the need to improve, because we know what we're capable of, and we don't think we played to that standard. So just the urgency and the need to improve has been cool to see.
Last question from me. This is going to be played on Sunday when it's probably about 88 degrees, and you guys are this interview right now on our kickoff show, on the famous Automotive and Quick Lube kickoff show. I'm sure it'll be 80 some odd degrees already at that point at about 9:30. Wow. How are you preparing? What did you learn this past Sunday in terms of getting your body and your mind right ahead of those temps?
It's going to be hot. It's mental. It's hot. So I ran in the hot once. I know I can do it again. It's hot. Just keep running. We've been running a lot, so just keep running.
You're ready. Has Doug been pushing you guys a little harder this week?
Yeah, we've been doing conditioning after practice and stuff too. So when it's hot, it's hot. I don't really care how much conditioning you do. You're going to be tired. So how you run through that, you got to run through a wall. You know what I'm saying?
Foyer, thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.
And thankfully, as we hear Foyer say that, a nice cool breeze rolls through Tailgaters Parking and Growler Bar and Grill. Hayes
Great
Caroline.
interview. And, I remember, like, even when we first got here last Sunday, how sticky it was.
Yep.
It wasn't even like the heat yet. It was the thickness in the air. The humidity was so thick.
Yep.
Today is gorgeous.
Feels like fall today.
I mean, it really does.
You're welcome.
It was the first day of fall yesterday, and so I know people talk about fake fall and that, when the Colts come to town in 3 weeks, it'll be 90 degrees again, and we'll be like, what the heck, it's October. But we will take it today, and I know the Jaguars will take it. Did you sense, being in the locker room on Friday, Hayes, did you sense that Doug Peterson was pushing these guys a little extra this week? I definitely did, especially because we went to talk to Travis Etienne, and he looked at me and 3 other reporters and said, I'm sorry, I need to go drink water and get in the shower. Not right now. So, and Roy Robertson-Harris did the same thing, and these are guys that are always so approachable.
Yeah, I think so. The biggest myth in Jaguars history is that the heat benefits them. It has never worked out that way. There is no evidence at all to suggest that the Jaguars are a better team when they play at home in September. And, again, it's something to keep in mind when this stadium does get redone, and it's going to get redone, getting away from that heat. That, alleviating the heat on the field is not going to hurt the football product. The heat does not help them any way, shape, or form. And last Sunday's example was just the latest in a dozen I can give
100
you.
plus JFRD rescues or something like that?
They do not get any edge in playing a home game in September because of the heat. There is no edge.
Well, there's 100 plus of you watching on YouTube right now. We appreciate you. We also appreciate those of you listening on radio, on the app, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you may be listening to. This is the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch. And it's almost that time, Carline.
Yes.
I'm very curious what our friends from Brackish have brewed up for us today. Because, of course, the Duval Donkey is our staple.
Yes.
It is undefeated against every team except for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we've now confirmed that. I think we may make a Duval Donkey, but we also are going to showcase some of their new drinks and new vodkas that
Let's do
Brackish
it.
is rolling out in Jacksonville area stores. One more segment to go. This is 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Clearwater. John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks.
Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up.
So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater irrigation
and drainage too.
Introducing Fast Twitch, a new energy drink from Gatorade. Developed with 200 milligrams of caffeine to help athletes focus the mind and power the body for athletic performance. Great flavors like strawberry watermelon, glacier freeze, cool blue, and tropical mango, all designed to ignite athletic performance. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Fast Twitch, official partner of the NFL and used by the pros. On-the-go energy from Gatorade.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. How would you describe the typical engagement ring customer that comes in your store?
Frank, at Underwoods, we often see customers who've shopped around and are totally confused about how to select a diamond. Now, they're looking for somebody qualified who'll tell them the truth and they can trust. They've heard about certification on diamonds, wholesale diamonds, internet diamonds, deals that a friend of a friend can get them, and the prices will range from unbelievably low to unbelievably high. One of the reasons for the confusion is if you look at the factors of grading a diamond, after you know the carat weight, there are 11 grades for cut, 21 grades for color, 11 grades for clarity, so you got 2,541 different possibilities, each with a different price. That's where Underwoods helps straighten out the confusion, because we have the American Gem Society credentialed professionals that'll guide a customer the right diamond for them, one she'll be happy with for the rest of her life.
Underwoods, where customers are served with quality and respect. In San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at jaguars.com/shadows. One winner a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit jaguars.com. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
I'm the Hammer Hayes Carline, and I've been known to drop an opinion like a hammer. Weekdays on The Frangie Show on 1010XL, brought to you by Golden Hammer Roofing and Gutters, the golden standard in roofing.
Looking for quality equipment and a name you can trust? Lepo Rents, Bobcat of Jacksonville, is your premier construction equipment dealer and rental house. We have the right equipment for the job, offering the big and small tools needed for your next project. Lepo sells and rents track loaders, excavators, boom lifts, and much more. For your next project, remember Lepo Rents, your authorized Bobcat dealer in Jacksonville. Visit them online at leporents.com.
When you can't stop, there's Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub sends powerful medicated Vicks vapors right to the source of your... so you can experience cough relief and breathe easier. Generations of families have trusted Vicks VapoRub to help relieve the worst cold symptoms. So next time you have a cough, reach for the Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub. Cough relieving is believing.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now.
Welcome back into the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff show right here at Tailgaters Parking and Growler Bar and Grill. One more segment to go, and as we do every Sunday when we are live for a Jaguars home game, we are so excited to welcome our good friends from Brackish here. And Matt, you brought a full slate of friends here today to the Kickoff show. Walk us through who each of these lovely gentlemen and ladies are.
So in addition to the original neutral vodka that we made, we now have 3 new flavors that we will be sampling at Tailgaters today. And in fact, the first people that walk up and sample all of our flavors will get 2 tickets to the game.
Wow. How about that? That's
all right.
And Growler Bar is also giving away a couple tickets later on this afternoon. I'm not sure what time, but we get in total 4 tickets given away today. So the new flavors that we're pushing for Brackish, in case you guys don't know who we are, we're a locally owned, operated, and produced spirits company. Vodka is our specialty. Our 3 new flavors are called Chocolate Confessions. That is made with a Mexican chocolate. Absolutely delicious. Elderflower, which is used elderberries, has a sweet floral note. And we have our Nightcap Espresso Vodka made with Cuban coffee beans. All 3 are 60 proof, amazing and delicious. And I believe Chad is going to make the local lemonade today made with our elderflower vodka.
May I ask what inspired the names and also the different flavors you guys are rocking with?
Well, espresso martinis are really popular right now.
Right.
Literally like 13% of all drinks going out in all the bars across the United States are espresso martinis. Chocolate and espresso go great together. Elderflower, you don't have to use Saint Germain, which I call the bartender's ketchup. Everyone uses it. They love it, but you don't need it when you have Brackish elderflower vodka.
Awesome.
And where do you get all this?
So we have a bunch of local liquor stores. Right now I want to shout out to Golden Ox, Shores, Southside Liquors, Golden Liquor on Atlantic and Kernan, and, of course, the big boys, ABC and Total Wine.
Absolutely. You can get your Brackish vodka there. And like you said, Matt, if you stop by today, again, we are at Tailgaters Parking, Growler Bar and Grill. It's the pavilion right to the right, or I guess this would be the east side of Everbank Stadium. If you stop by, you'll get to sample it and then a chance to win pair of tickets?
Pair of tickets.
Pair of tickets to the Jaguars and Texans game coming up a little bit later today. All right, it's time to pass the headset off to our boy Chad of Growler's Bar and Grill Acclaim. Now,
this
Chad,
is my guy right here.
So here's the thing, Chad.
Okay.
Are we playing with fire right now? Because we always make the Duval Donkey. It is undefeated from the start of last season to now when the Jaguars play any team not named the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
We're making something that's it's not like the Duval Donkey, but maybe it's a little similar. It's still a refreshing vodka drink.
And it's great for this kind of time of year. It's summertime, warm weather, and we're going to start a streak today.
All right.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. A new streak.
We got the elderflower right here. We're going to go to 2 ounces of that.
Okay.
We'll jump over here. Get some for Big.
If you're not watching on YouTube, the heaviest pour in Jacksonville belongs to Chad, and that's why you should come to Tailgaters Parking.
All right, then we're going to go just simply with some lemonade.
That's all it takes.
On top. Yeah,
Wow.
And then some people like to cut the lemonade with like soda water or something like that. I prefer the whole lemonade drink, so here we go.
All right, here we go. All right, Gibby's filling in for Graham, so we're going to have make sure we get the Carline cam going. Here we go. So this is the Lawrence Lemonade, I believe the boys are calling it.
Look at him go. Get down. All the way to the bottom, big guy.
He doesn't mess. He always shows up for the crowd at Tailgaters Parking. Here he goes. And tosses the cup for good measure.
Jags.
Tosses the cup for good measure. All right, so we're calling it the Lawrence Lemonade?
The local lemonade.
Local lemonade. Okay, we're not going to put this on Trevor.
yeah.
All right. Hey, we like that. Well, we're looking forward to a new streak beginning with the local lemonade,
Local
Chad.
lemonade. We're going to get a win today, 100%.
And you guys also have tickets you're giving away?
Yeah, we're going to give a ticket giveaway at 12:30. If you come up and buy either a shot or a drink or something with Brackish, any one of the flavors, and get a ticket to win. A set of tickets to go see the game. Go see Texas and Jacksonville today.
Awesome. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And
cheers.
Another lovely drink thanks to our good friends at Brackish Vodka. So make sure you stop on by, say hi to Chad, Matt, all the guys here, and the whole Brackish team as they are set up as well here at Tailgaters Parking and Growler Bar and Grill. All right. Here we go. A little less than 10 minutes away before we sign off here, Chad. Oh, no, let's keep the headset on Chad. I need to ask Chad. I didn't get a chance to ask him for your score prediction. What are you expecting from the Big Cats today?
27-10 Jags.
27-10 Jags.
Yeah,
like
big
it.
offensive day. I bet defense gets a touchdown too.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, we're going to take
I
a
love
little
it.
strip sack or something.
All right.
Fantastic.
So Chad's going 27-10. We already heard from Cole Thompson out in Houston of Sports Map Radio. He thinks the Jags score 31 points here today at Everbank Stadium in Week 3 of the NFL season. What say you? We appreciate all of you on the text line Design by Lifetime Enclosures, as well as on our YouTube chat line. Feel free to send your score predictions there, and we may even read them on the air here on the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. But let's kick it back to 1010XL World Headquarters. Producer Casey Dobson, what say you between the Big Cats and the Texans here today?
Woo. So let me see. I mean, I was looking at some stats for the Texans. I was looking at the Jaguars, and actually the Texans have a better ranking in the passing and rushing. So we got to turn this around. We got to jump them in the standings. I'm going to say 28-17 Jaguars win. Please, can we get a W?
Hey, that's still an 11-point margin of victory.
We'll take
Jaguars a 9-point favorite last I checked. Carline, final thoughts from you as we get set to wrap here in just a few minutes. What is it going to take for the Jaguars to get back on track here today?
I think the offense will pick it up somewhat. I still don't think it's going to be the well-oiled machine that it is going to eventually get to. So I think a little clunky at times, but I really don't see C.J. Stroud and the Houston offense being able to overcome the massive offensive line attrition that they're going to have. So I think Jaguars today, I'll say 23-10. Jaguars a little lower scoring.
I do want to note that according to our friends at MyBookie, despite all those injuries on the part of the Houston Texans, the line actually has moved to 7.5 from 9 on Friday.
Wow.
Which I find rather fascinating.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of points in the NFL, 9. But I'm surprised there's that much money moving on the Texans with all the injuries.
And I think it was the biggest line in the NFL outside of course, the Chicago Bears paying a visit to Kansas City, which is still a 12.5-point line. And, of course, the Dallas Cowboys visiting Tankathon in Phoenix, Arizona, or should I say Glendale, where they are also a double-digit favorite. So maybe that number 9 was just a little too strong for everyone out in Vegas's blood. Andrew Gibson, your final thoughts here on this lovely Sunday.
Well, I think the biggest key for me is you got to capitalize on the red zone. That was such an issue for the Jaguars last week. You got to come away with points, and points meaning touchdowns in this game today. I'll say Jags 31-14.
All right, another high-scoring affair, also with 31 points. All right, we got a little bit of time here, so I do want to obviously encourage all of you listening on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, radio, wherever you may be. You could send us your score predictions, 641-1010, or in the YouTube chat. I also want to span the National Football League and take a look around the AFC South.
Yeah, who do you like? That I tell you, the Tennessee-Cleveland game.
Yeah.
That is a gigantic game for the Jaguars.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, how do you see that going? And, I mean, good. If the Titans beat Cleveland after taking down the Chargers, that's a concern for me. So really need the Browns to come through today.
Right, and obviously they are without Nick Chubb. Thankfully, it does sound like, which I cannot believe, it's only an MCL tear.
I thought that was shocking.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I thought dislocation was inevitable in his knee after that injury suffered Monday Night Football. But not having Nick Chubb and having Deshaun Watson only operating at the mediocre level he has been for the last year and a half, that's concerning for Cleveland. I do think that Cleveland will pull out the victory only because they didn't get the win on Monday night in the wake of Nick Chubb's injury. I think, quite frankly, they were shook after seeing that take place, and so that's why I think they get back. They bounce back. They're at home. Do I think the Titans could go in and win? Absolutely, because on paper, Titans and the Chargers, you tell me, Hayes, who's the better team?
Yeah, I mean,
the Chargers, and guess who won last week?
Yeah, Titans are just so tough. I mean, it's a staple of their identity with Mike Vrabel. I will say this: I think Cleveland's a 3.5-point favorite. Last I looked, I do think Cleveland wins, and I base that on Cleveland's defense. I was really impressed with. These guys hit.
Yep.
And I think if there's if the Titans defense has a unit that could be as physical as them, it's Cleveland's defense. I think it's going to be, a low-scoring game there. I would think that Cleveland's able to pull it out. And maybe Deshaun Watson plays, without Chubb. Maybe he plays a little freer. More is going to be asked of him, and maybe he rises to the occasion. Tannehill was great last week for the Titans.
After 3 picks the week before.
Yeah, an abysmal opener. So, again, we'll see what happens there. But that's huge for the Jaguars. If they can beat Houston today and Cleveland can take care of Tennessee, then again, you've got that. You're back to being a game up on the Titans. But if the Titans are able to beat the Chargers and the Browns in consecutive weeks, that would be, I think, a pretty big statement for a club that not much of is expected other than maybe a 9-8 campaign.
The Colts also come into this week at 1-1. I know that's obviously with a win over the Houston Texans, who are 0-2, who the Jaguars face today. But they travel to a Baltimore Ravens squad that is absolutely beat up. They will be without Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew getting his first start as the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. Ravens 7.5-point favorites, though, despite they're without at least 2 starting linemen. Tyler Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley have both been ruled out for this game. I picked against the Ravens last week, Hayes, for that reason. They proved me wrong. I think it's safe to say Lamar and company, they're starting to click with new OC Todd Monken.
I think so, and again, I picked Cincinnati last week as well. I thought that was one of the biggest statement wins of Week 2 was Baltimore going in and pushing Cincinnati to 0-2. They are dealing with a lot of attrition, but again, we talked about earlier, the Ravens are so well built. It's why they've won or had won all those preseason games in a row. They just have done a great job. They get all these comp picks every year, and it's turned into, if there is depth in the NFL, the Ravens are one of the few teams that has it. And while it's a lot of injuries, I do think they'll be able to overcome it and send Indianapolis to 1-2. Minshew does not set up well for what the Ravens like to do defensively. I think they're going to have a really good plan for him, and I'd be surprised if the Colts generate a lot of offense. So not a pretty game, but I think the Ravens win a 20-9 kind of game, and weather is also
tropical storm Ophelia.
Yeah, I haven't seen the latest on that, but I know that's one of like 3 games I think to really kind of watch out for from an element standpoint.
Absolutely. One other game I do want to note, because we won't be on the air next week with the Jaguars in London, ditto to the following week. Falcons, Lions, real quick before we wrap up here. Are the Falcons for real? Because I'm also seeing the ads from ESPN right now. Toy Story Fun Day Football.
Yeah, how about
a week
that?
from today. You don't get Kickoff show, you get animated Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, who doesn't love that? I think the Falcons are a nice story. I don't think they're for real. So I'd be disappointed if the Jaguars go to London and lose to Atlanta. You know, I think they're probably going to go 1-1. I think they probably beat Atlanta, win today, beat Atlanta, lose to the Bills, and come home and beat the Colts. So I think that's what the next month has in store for the Jaguars. So yeah, I think Atlanta is nice story, not legit.
We will not be on the air for the kickoff show for that game. We will be back on the airwaves, Hayes and myself, 3 weeks from today when the Jaguars host the Indianapolis Colts. But first things first, Texans, Jags, 1 o'clock today right here on the Superstation. Frank Frangie, Tony Baselli, Jeff Loggeman, and Bucky Brooks on the call. That'll do it for the famous Automotive and Quick Lube Kickoff Show. For Hayes Carline, for Andrew Gibson, for Casey Dobson, our thanks to Frank Frangie and Cole Thompson. I am Mia O'Brien. We will catch you later.
What's the deal with the show? The 1010XL Podcast Network is now available just about everywhere you find podcasts.
I mean, I think the show's going to be a huge hit.
Search for your favorite 1010XL podcast in your platform of choice.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. Hurricanes happen in Florida. That's not news. But what happens even more often than hurricanes are home break-ins. And if security is important to you, you might want to look into hurricane-rated impact